Oh, hi, welcome. It's Kara from Goddess to Goodness. Thanks for joining me. Um, I always ask the question. Let me just see here. This battery's dying, I think. Anyways, I always get asked the question, like, how do I tap into my spiritual gifts? Or I feel energy. Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining. Um, but I always get asked the same question, like, how do I actually like tap into or harness my spiritual gifts? Or I feel like I feel like I have a sixth sense. How do I like get that to like how do I tap into it better? How do I begin to hear it better? In other words, how can I get in touch with that like in more of like a controlled um and where it's like more in your control. You're not just like, because a lot of times we'll have these gifts where we, like get a feeling from like our intuition, our highest self is trying to communicate with us, our guides, our ancestors, whatever it is. And a lot of times we'll discount it and kind of like put it off or whatever. Other times we'll actually, we'll know that that's what's happening. Where, okay, so for an example, I had a friend of mine contact me today and she said, Kara, I know that I've had these gifts for a really long time, but I used to like block it out, which you'd be surprised. A lot of us who do have these gifts do block it out for a really long time. So that's the first thing to like be aware of is that um not only have you may have blocked it out because it may have scared you the first time or something like that, which that's completely normal. Especially if something comes to you where like you don't know like how you gain the information, or you saw like a picture in your mind, you're like, why would I even think of that? Or like we question ourselves because we're taught that stuff like that is like, in the movies, or it's like hoodoo, or it's magic, or it's whatever. Okay. So a lot of times we'll just kind of blow it off and be like, oh, it was a coincidence. Okay. So we don't really know like when that feeling comes, or how to recognize when that feeling or that when that experience happens. We don't really know like how to actually like pick it out and say like, okay, well, this is what it was. Now that I know it's my gift, how do I go about harnessing it? And now the hardest question about that is different for everybody. Okay. So for one person and their spiritual gifts, it might pop into their field of awareness. Okay. And so that is the most general tip I can give you is like, on a soul level, like on a gut level, on an intuitive level, like when it's like knowledge that you've gained by like 3D means, like reading it, someone told it to you, you learned it somewhere, like that if it's that, and then the difference if it's not that. So that's the first thing is like, if we're going to talk about how to develop these gifts, it's have the awareness of that, or try to practice having the awareness. And you might not have the awareness till like an hour after it happens, 2 hours, 3 days after it happens. But these are things that they come in like little epiphanies, like, oh, like, oh my goodness, like I said that and then it happened, or I felt that and I drove that way home and then I realized that, or I heard about this happening on the news or whatever. Okay. So these types of things, or like, a lot of times for me, it used to be like, especially when I blocked it off, I would think of somebody and then the phone would ring and it would be them. And I'd be like, I was just thinking of you. Okay. So now how is it that we take that experience, right? And then turn it into an indicator of when that gift is like shifting into gear. Because a lot of the times before we know how to like harness it and before it's like developed, we definitely have this feeling is it like happens on accident, okay, or like happenstance, okay. And so that's really the hardest part about it's not about developing your intuition. It's not about the hard part isn't developing or channeling that psychic energy or that intuitive power or spiritual gift or whatever it is, right? That's really not the hard part. The hard part is circumventing our human brain to become aware of like what the symptoms or signs of it is. Okay, so now I'll just let me clarify this a little bit. First of all, I actually just want to spray these. One of my very good friends makes these beautiful sprays. They're she puts church crystals in there, essential oils. This one says clearing. And they're for like room, body, sheets, everything. But I love these sprays she has. And I will put a link in the description below. But this one's Palo Santo, which if you saw what I was burning in the beginning, this is a bottle of Palo Santo spray with charged crystals in the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see it, but she does it labeling and everything, and they're handcrafted. I just love them. And people come to my house and they'll be sitting on the table here and they just like spray them all over the place. So I actually brought them out to spray. So anyways, let me get back into it. How it happens for me and how I recognize this is okay, so it started like that with like phone calls and things like that. And then as I started getting more like tapped in, okay, and as I continued on this path and began like meditating more and becoming more mindful, I realized that the way I knew that it was like a spiritual gift or like my intuition, um, and it's hard to explain for me, but the best way I can explain it is like this. So I will say it's like when I'm pulling cards or something. Let's use when I'm pulling cards. So I can have like a card where, like it sticks out or something, like this out of the pile, and I could have like several, right? And the way it works for me, and it's hard to explain, but it's like almost like it's highlighted. Okay. And it's like it's not a picture in my head. It's not a voice or a story, although it can be. Like, and the more you use these gifts, the stronger they become. So you don't have to look as hard as like you practice more and get to know it more, which obviously, but the first step is having the awareness. So it's just about like it started out as just having that like gut feeling. And I'm like, should I? And it was like something was like, yeah, take that one. Okay. And so when I would like read the card or whatever, amongst all the other cards, it would be like I would touch it and it would like something in my gut would be like, yeah, that one. And then I would touch another card and it would be like, no, not that one. Okay. And it, like I said, it's not a voice, but it's like a sensation. Okay. So try to be aware of like the sensations you're feeling. Um, and it's again, it's like that sensation could be like a pull. That's kind of what it is for me. It's like a pull, and if I'm looking at a certain object, the pull actually has like I can't explain it. It's like a little like highlight around like that object or like whatever it is. Another way for me is I'll see like flashes of like pictures, whether it's like symbolism from a book, whether it's, like a certain tarot card that represents something for me, whether it's like a scene in a movie or something like that. I could have like a little like, and it's something that it just like pops into my head. Like, you know what I mean? It'll literally just pop up in my head. I see the picture. And again, it's like about the feeling that picture creates or about the sensation that creates. Another way for me that I recognize it is, um, like I said, it's not really like a voice per se, but it's almost like inspiration. So like when you are thinking of when you're working on something and you get like inspired to do something, that's kind of how it comes through for me. It's not a voice talking to you, but it's like a highlighted idea or like a highlighted feeling. Okay. And there's emphasis, there's a pull towards it. Okay. So the way to recognize these things for yourself is it's boring, but grab yourself like a little book. I have several that I use. I literally have blank books all over my house laying around. And when I have like a feeling or like a pull or a sensation towards something, I'll like jot it down because the next time then that it happens, I'm able to like go back and like become more aware of like what my body physically does, or what I physically notice, okay? And if you write down, like, okay, this happened, I had this feeling or I had this thought, and I get a tingle in my right ear, right? You're going to learn to identify that, like, that physical whatever is associated with you having, having like a psychic premonition, or feeling psychic energy. And when I say psychic energy, it's energy that we don't see. You know what I mean? It's the feeling of that energy. Okay. So you'll get like little senses and little indicators, right? And like for a lot of people, it is physically. For a lot of people, it's like physically, but not something that like you can physically notice on the outside of you. It's more like a physical sensation inside, where you get, like I said, like a certain sensation, like in your mind, or it could be like a little, like, feeling of like butterflies in your stomach, or and again, it's different for everybody. So that's why, and it's very individual. When I say like different for everybody, it's just very individual. um it's not that it can't be the same, but there could be different combinations and things like that. So again, the first key is start to become aware of these symptoms or sensations or experiences, right? The second thing is really keep like a book or a journal. I keep one in my purse, I keep one at the car, and I will jot down like little notes. And I don't mean notes, like I'm in school, but like bullet points, or like a word or an idea. And I'll be like, this is like literally what I thought at the time, or what popped into my head. And it doesn't feel like it's coming from my own realm of thinking, right? So it'll be like really something that is not normally in my realm of thought or in my realm of reference, okay, when I speak on an everyday basis. That's another way I know that it's like a message or a pull from my guides, okay? My guides or my intuition is again, when it's like something like that's kind of like out of the ordinary for me to like think of, or for me to like pop into my head, I'm like, why would I even think of that? Then I know that it's usually like I'm picking up on energy of something, of somebody, of of whatever it is. Um, Kind of spooky, but still true. I remember before I was like really like tapped in as much as I am now, a few years ago, I would drive by, and it was only certain funeral homes, but there would be like a funeral, an active funeral going on. And it wasn't all the time, but I would feel this, I can't explain it, on my left shoulder. I would feel a almost like walking through a cobweb kind of feeling. Creepy, I know. And that's how I realized for the first time that the dead communicate with me. And that again, I it's not something that I really like delve into and that I put a lot of focus on, but it's like when there is like a message that some energy needs to get across, and it's like really really important, and if I'm the receiver that's like the closest, or I will feel that feeling. I'll tell you guys another real crazy short story. Recently, maybe like 2 months ago, I was at my friend's house, and she lives on a busy street. And her and my other girlfriend and I, the three of us are, making jokes, and we're laughing and talking. And all of a sudden I heard like screeching tires, and I literally heard like a thud. And the minute I heard that, it was the strangest thing. I felt that feeling, that spider web feeling on my left shoulder. And my two friends were like, "What was that?" And they run to the window, and I go, "Guys," I go, "it sounded like somebody got hit by a car." And they look out the window, and lo and behold, a guy got hit by a police car. And that's the thud that I heard, was the man who got hit by the car. That was the thud. Well, as my friends are looking out the window, and this sensation creeped me out like you would not believe. But again, it's all energy. So I was creeped out, but I wasn't. I was creeped out more because of how strong it was. That's what freaked me out a little bit. But I got that feeling of that spider web on my left shoulder. And I literally felt like there was like a masculine energy standing right next to me. And I heard, "Hey, hi." And the first thought in my head, it was like not even a conscious thought, was like, hey, buddy, you don't belong here. It's time for you to go back. And I kid you not, this is the craziest story. I almost don't believe it as I'm saying it out loud. As soon as I said that, like mentally or thought it mentally, my two friends looking out the window go, oh my God, he's alive. His hand just moved. And I kid you not, that gives me goosebumps, this story, every time I tell it. Like, it literally, like, the hair on my arms is, like, literally, like, standing up. Um, but that was one of the craziest, and again, because I wasn't used to, um, channeling that type of energy, or, um, knowing what that energy feels like, right? Or deciphering what that is. Um, so it kind of like really like took me off guard. But again, I became aware that, wow, that spider web feeling that I felt driving past, and like I said, it could be like funeral processions, funeral homes, only at certain times, not all the time. I feel like when it was just like a very like when a certain energy wanted to just be noticed, okay, I would feel this feeling. And so I, at that moment, I was like, wow, it was like a confirmation for me that that spiderweb feeling that I feel was how I physically pick up on energy of people who've crossed over. Okay. So that's what I mean about being individual for everybody, and you becoming just having the awareness of it is like the very best thing you can do, because that alone it's like the key that opens the door, right? So just having that awareness and like being aware of the awareness. I know that sounds stupid, but it really is what it is, because then it's like it's like muscle memory. When you notice that, and then the next time it happens, you're like, oh, okay. The third time it happens, you start to identify more with it. The fourth time, the fifth time, the sixth time, you're like, oh, okay, that's what this is, right? Um, One of the first times when I was starting to feel really comfortable with like reading with tarot cards, right? Um, when I started to really be confident and start to really get confident with that, I would get so like I would get these moments where like I'd be giving a message and I would start to get like hot, even in a cold room, like hot, like sweating. And I do it in private readings, and I do it, and it's like when the message is like extremely strong or like extremely important. Okay, I think like when it's and that's how I identify it, because I'm like, is this just because I'm like picking up on energy? It's not. It's like when it's a very like strong or very how do I want to explain it? Like a very emphatic message from the universe. Like when it's like they're really trying to drive home a point to people, or to the client or to whatever. I notice that I start to get like literally like overheated. Okay. And that's another way that I recognize that that's that confirmation from me. Okay. So again, the awareness is the first thing. The second thing is grab a little book, make little bullet point notes for yourself. The third thing is if you don't already, grab a deck of cards, oracle cards or tarot cards. You could do it with playing cards as well, if that's all you have and you don't really want to invest money. That's fine. You could do it with dice, like playing dice. Um, and what you have to do is just set up a system for yourself. Okay, so I'm an intuitive tarot reader, so yes, I do have the meanings of the cards memorized. But before I had them memorized, I really read cards from a very intuitive, like just my intuition only, actually, because I really didn't have a frame of reference. And I am like, especially like when I was a lot younger, I'm like a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. So I like didn't read the book when I got my first deck of cards, which I think now that I am more experienced, I feel like that's a good thing, because I wasn't stuck in somebody else's box of what the meaning of the cards was, right? I was allowed to more free flow, and tap in more to my intuition and into like my inner voice. Because again, what something symbolizes for me might not be the way that it's symbolized for you, right? So again, when I see like those like little like movie scenes, when like my guides are trying to get a message through for a client, or on one of these videos or something like that, I might see like or hear like a snippet of a song lyric, right? That's another way things come through for me. Okay, messages come through is like a little like song lyric or something like that. Anyways, I I'm reading Joshua's comment here and I'm like cracking up because like that's adorable. Aww. So anyways, like I said, when I will get those little messages and those little snippets and things like that, um, that may cause me to say something in a way that the person I'm talking to needs to hear it, right? So, like I said, I do have the symbolism and the cards memorized in tarot, but even if you've never picked up a deck of cards in your entire life, you would be amazed at how it works as a tool to like channel the energy within you and around you. It's really like phenomenal. People kind of don't believe me, and I'm like, we have apparatuses that channel energy in all different ways. The lamp that channels electrical energy into a light source. A microwave channels microwaves into cooked food. And so on and so forth. Like, we have furnaces that convert gas into heat. So again, like we don't see energy. We can feel it though. Absolutely, we can feel it. And so when you feel a certain way, or somebody you're speaking with feels a certain way, and a card gets pulled, right? You're going to be pulled to certain things within the cards that speak to you in certain ways. Okay. And that's another way to really like tap in to what your energy is, to what energy you're being drawn to and the message in it, right? So I could look at this integrity card right here and channel this in a completely different way than the next person. I could hand this to the person next to me and channel it completely differently. And chances are we'll probably match up on a lot of the messages from the card, only because usually in tarot cards, symbols that are very prominent in our literature or that we've grown up with, symbols will be used that will invoke certain messages in like the masses of people. Do you know what I'm saying? Um we But again, there's like going to be little intricacies that individual people will begin to pick out on and will construct other messages or other meanings, okay, in other ways, because it's going to resonate differently based on your life experience as opposed to my life experience, or your perception based on my perception. In the way that I mean that is, when you go to a museum and you have two people standing next to each other looking at, like, say, an abstract piece of art, or even not an abstract piece of art, just whatever, you can have two totally different points of view on that piece of art. Okay. Um, and the thing is you can totally, uh, two people can totally have like two opposite sides of the spectrum about the same message. So that's the other thing, is when you are channeling energy or are trying to tap into um like what your intuition is trying to get to you, or what your guides are trying to get to you. The trick is don't doubt yourself either. That's the other part, is it's very, very easy. Our brains are set up to make us doubt ourselves. Because going outside of your comfort zone is uncomfortable. It is scary. And our brain associates scary uncomfortableness with our body not surviving. So your brain is conditioned, just because of human programming, because our DNA is set up like that. It's meant to make you survive and like physically survive. So even though our brain doesn't know the difference, that it's like being uncomfortable socially, or being uncomfortable socially, or emotionally or mentally, our brain doesn't realize that there is a difference between being uncomfortable that way as opposed to being uncomfortable in the physical world. So again, that's why it's good to have a book near you, because you may think something and be like, "Oh no, that's not right." And like totally discount yourself. And in which case you condition yourself to not trust your intuition. So when you write it down and then look back at it a day later, an hour later, 6 hours later, a day later, a week later, a month later, 2 years later, chances are you will most likely look back and be like, holy crap, I was right. So the trick of having the book with you is really just like to confirm for yourself, because it's like building your energetic confidence, your spiritual gift confidence. Okay. That's why having the book is just invaluable. Plus, you might have thought a certain way about something a year ago and you don't feel that way about it anymore. You know what I mean? And so the meaning may change, because when your perception changes, the meaning changes. Okay. Um, oh God. I'm like looking at these adorable little comments. We have like a little cute little boy here joining us. Oh, that's adorable. But anyways, hi Joshua. Thanks for joining. You're adorable. Um looking like you may have school tomorrow. But so again, how do we develop and harness these psychic gifts and spiritual gifts when we notice that we're having them? Um and I know you guys are gonna like roll your eyes and be like, meditate. And I am really lazy about stuff like that. So I go on YouTube and I search like guided meditation. I have a whole list. If you go to my channel page, there is a gigantic list of guided meditations. You can do sleep meditations. You can do 2-minute meditations, 5-minute meditations. You don't need YouTube to do meditations. You can, if you take a bath or take a shower, stand there for 2 minutes with your eyes closed, or sit there for 2 minutes with your eyes closed, and just listen. If your water drips, listen to the water drip and just let your mind flow. It's not about making your mind empty, it's about letting it flow. Another way I like to do this is I like to incorporate crystals, because they really do carry energetic frequencies. Okay. So this one right here is actually, it's one of my favorites. It's called, I don't know if you guys can see it, Lemurian crystal. Okay, this piece is really cool. These crystals are really good for channeling, harnessing energy. These are also good for past life discovery, and which that's like my specialty, is past life readings and discovery. But they have these, they have these like little lines here on the side, and it's almost like a little barcode, but it's textured, which is crazy. Like you can run your fingers over it, and this is just how they are. Um, it's like they're these. This one, the other name for it is the golden crystal healer, golden healer crystal. Okay. Um, these are really just like invaluable. And the crazy thing about these Lemurian crystals is I started working with this, and I recommend using one crystal at a time, but I put on like one of my like guided meditations. And I was just doing like a 15-minute thing, but the session that I had with this, it was like, I don't know. I have to almost like explain it like, and I've had out of body experiences before. It was nearly like that. I meditated so deep that like I was surprised. And I just hold it in my hand, and you will feel like a certain energy. And again, how everybody connects with certain things is different for everybody. So it's just about creating the awareness for yourself. If you've never owned crystals or never bought crystals, I would just go start with like one simple thing. Amethyst would be the one I would recommend, especially if you're trying to develop I'm trying to get this in the light here, develop your intuitive abilities or your spiritual gifts or channeling the energy. Okay, amethyst opens up your crown chakra. All right, and a lot of people swear by like, meditating or laying with this like on their third eye. For me, I like to lay a little more comfortable when I meditate. Like I don't like lay like right on my back. I'll lay however I'm comfortable that day. So for me, under my pillow or in my palm is good. Sometimes I'll like lay it on my heart. But again, it's just about connecting with the energy and the vibration of that particular crystal. Okay. And amethysts are really easy to find. Um, if you are, if you have a spiritual shop, which most places kind of do, maybe not a spiritual shop, but you may have like a rock and mineral shop or a fossil shop or something, science, like a science discovery shop nearby. A lot of those places will also carry crystals. Like I think there's a science store in the mall or something like that. A lot of those places will. Another one, and okay, before I go on to this one, what I'm going to bring up is grounding when you do this. Grounding means where amethyst works on your crown chakra, it's like in the upper realms. You need something to ground your energy like into the earth. Okay. So, and it's like to keep your, like essentially keep your feet on the ground, right? But what it does is it actually helps you bring this spiritual gift energy into the physical, and so you can retain more awareness. So I recommend actually working with both an amethyst, and this one is called Tiger's Eye, which this has always been one of my favorites. It has this, I forget what they call that, flash to it. It's like when you turn it, it kind of like shines or is like, it has this like luster to it. But this one is really beautiful. Regular Tiger's Eye is usually just more of like all the brown color in there. I usually have one of everything sitting around. I don't know what I did with it right now, but anyways, you can Google these. They're on Amazon, things like that. Make sure you're getting from a reputable, dealer. I have one place that I really like to look at. Oh, I can't think of the name. And then you can get crazy and get things like this. So I have this wand. This is really beautiful. This is quartz crystal on the bottom, topped with a silver cap, with amethyst inlaid in there and bezel set. And then on the top here, we have a fluorite globe. Okay. Quartz crystal is good for like cleansing and purifying energy, right? So if you feel like you're scattered and you want to meditate, but you feel like you're a little frazzled, grab a quartz. That'll be nice. It'll clear your energy, like kind of bring it back to blank, bring it back to zero. The fluorite right here up on top, and it's not fluoride like for teeth, it's fluorite. Okay, and it can be like purple, it could be like green, it could be green and purple. It can have like really pretty color variations, but this is really for psychic development, and intuition, okay, and connecting with that as well. Quartz will also amplify, okay, meaning it'll make stronger whatever you have it with. So because there's amethyst and the fluorite in here, and even for me, I like it that there's a silver cap on here, because silver is a conductor, okay, and it is, so for me, it's like the quartz and the silver will conduct the energy of all three of the crystals. So like I said, quartz will clear your energy if it's by itself, but when used with other stuff, it'll actually act as like an amplifier, okay? And so this is really cool. It has like skulls on it. I love skulls. Anyways, okay. So what else can I tell you, guys, about developing your gifts? Honestly, guys, those are the three things I would start with, okay? The more questions that I get, if you guys do have other questions, please post them either in the chat or in the comments below. If you like this video, please like it, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to see more videos like this. But maybe I feel like I might make this a series, because this question is literally asked all the time. Like, how do I recognize my spiritual gifts? I feel that I'm having them, or I feel that I've blocked them off for my whole life. How do I tap into these? How do I, like, how is it that I can use these gifts to like empower my daily life or empower my daily whatever? Let's see. We got your palm lines look like his is 62-year-old. I don't know what that means, Joshua. He's a poltergeist gift. Wise, a remote viewer, but terrible a conversation. Oh, maybe, are you talking about yourself, Joshua? All I got is heavy crystal ball used to develop the palmistry mounds. The action of holding it is like palming a basketball. It brings out the mounds. psychic gifts are marked in the palmistry lines. It can be Googled. Well, very cool. So, well, very nice to meet you, Joshua. Look like his is 62-year-old. I don't even know what you mean. You're 39 and married. My friend is 62. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I'm not 62. But yeah, 62 is a little too old for me. That's like my dad, but I appreciate it. Thanks. And if he's a lizard man, then maybe he needs a 62-year-old lizard lady, just saying. So anyways, I'm actually going to do a little card pull for you guys because I want to. And so let's see what we got here. So I call my archangels, my spirit guides, my ascended masters. What are we pulling for? Okay, first, we're going to pull from this one. Okay, this is the Cosmic Tarot. And again, guys, like when I said about getting a deck of cards is very individual. You just use your intuition. There is no right or wrong. Okay. You get what you're drawn to, because again, that is what you're going to connect with. Like that's what you are energetically going to connect with. How, you ask, do I pick the right deck, or how do I know? Again, it's what you're drawn to. So for me, it's when I pick up a box. Most of them will have little pictures on the back, like somewhere either on the back of the box, on the side of the box, whatever. For me, this is really about like when I like look at that initial artwork, if I'm like, ooh, you know what I'm saying? Like if I'm like, oh my goodness, like right away, like have a connection, have a feeling, have a pull to it, right? That's how you know it's for you. Okay. Sometimes I'm pulled to way too many decks at once. And so then I have to be like, all right, what am I pulled to the most? And sometimes I will literally like close my eyes, set all the boxes out in front of me, and wherever my hand lands, it's what I get. Okay, because my energy, whether I know it or not, whether I'm consciously aware of it or not, my energy was pulled to a certain place for a certain reason. And I will have people like mix up the boxes and stuff, so I don't know what's where. Okay, but again, your energy will be naturally pulled to where it's meant to be. Okay, so Spirit, what do we have for people today? Oh my gosh, communication. They're cool. Okay, so communication is key. Like I said, this is about communicating via these spiritual gifts that we have, and it's about like hearing that. For me, what that says is like hearing the call of the wild, right? When we hear our intuition, or when we tap into our spiritual or psychic gifts, to me, that is the call of the wild. We were conditioned and programmed for the last, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of years. I don't think thousands, I think more hundreds. Okay. But we have definitely been conditioned to believe that that is like, what pagans or witches do, or that's what savages do, or and that is not true at all. Like civilizations have relied on their intuition and relied on their psychic and spiritual gifts. Okay. And it's natural in humans. It's an innate gift. We are just born with this. We're born with the ability. I mean, if we're logically taught that we only use what, like 16% of our brain, say even 20, 25%, even if we use that much, the rest of our brain isn't just junk. It's not just spam. It's literally there for a reason. We just aren't sure what the purpose of it is, and we're not sure how to harness it. I am in the very, very, very firm belief that the rest of our brain is actually for picking up energy and communicating with energies and other forms of communication and knowing. Okay, like I always say, I teach classes on this. Our intuition, if we were superheroes, that would be our superhuman, like our superhero power. Okay, every human's born with intuition, every single one. I also believe that we are all born with the ability to feel energies, like energies outside of our own. Dogs and cats do it when they feel an earthquake or feel whatever going on. We all feel it. You walk into a room and it's like a funky vibe. That's you feeling like spiritual or psychic energy. Okay. You might not want to call it psychic energy. That's fine. You don't have to. But it is our energetic field. And we all carry that as human beings, as plants, as animals. We all have an energetic frequency. And that brings me back to the crystals. They really do. So a lot of the times I will go into a store. They might have crystals. Again, the same way I'm drawn to certain oracle decks. I might pick up a crystal that day, and then a lot of times they'll have the little meanings next to it, or I'll Google it. It's crazy because 99% of the time I read what the crystal is like used for, like its metaphysical properties or its spiritual uses. And I'm like, holy shit, this is literally like what I've been feeling for the last couple of weeks, or this is exactly what I needed, or wow, this like resonates. This totally makes sense for me to have right now. Okay. Because our energetic fields are like drawn to each other, like attracts like. Okay. So what else do we have for people? Wow. There is a lot of energy in these cards. Hope. Okay. So again, hope right here is, yeah, like have hope. It's nice to have hope. But for me, what this card is kind of stating is that even though sometimes we feel like we're in the dark, when we have that intuition, or like I said, sometimes for me, it's like that little like light up, you know what I mean? Like where in my energetic field, I can like sense that something is like lit up amongst the other things. It might be 10 tarot cards that look the same from the back. And I might have like 3 sticking out or something, whatever like this. And I'll go, is it this one? And I'll have a sensation like, yeah, no. All I have is it this one? I'll have a sensation. And when I hit the right one, I have this, like I said, it's the sensation of it actually like being lit up or like glowing a little bit. Okay. And it's like I said, it's not a conscious thing. It's not like I'm closing my eyes and using my imagination. It's literally like seeing the light amongst the other dark things. Okay. So when you are when you are trying to develop your gifts and you get that little glimmer, whatever that is for you, or that little physical sensation, or, like you get warm when you talk about a certain thing or like whatever, and it's not anger and it's not frustration, and you just physically have a physiological reaction. And by all means, if you feel like you need to go to the doctor, please do. If you have physical reactions that aren't making sense and you feel like you need to go seek medical attention, please do so. But if you know that it's not related to that, then start to pay attention. Like for me, I know that my angel guides are actually coming into contact with me because I will have like a really high pitched frequency ringing in my ears, like really high pitched out of nowhere. It's really crazy. And the first couple of times it happened, I had like no idea what it was. I Googled it. Then I started to really like pay attention to when it happened. Like, when is this happening? Okay. And what am I saying when it happens? What am I feeling like emotionally when it happens? Okay. Does it feel very positive or does it not feel positive? Right. So this is really about just like keeping your awareness. Okay. Just keeping your awareness open. That is, the minute you start to have awareness of something, you're already like 1,000 steps ahead. Okay. Like you're already like way on the right track. Oh my gosh. And this just falls out. We have emotions. Oh my gosh. Okay. After I just said it. So spirit is just confirming what I just said here. So like really, just like I said, like pay attention to where the light is, like in your energetic field, in your energetic body, in your physiological body. Okay. And that is the first most important thing about harnessing or channeling your spiritual or psychic gifts. Okay. I'm going to pull from this deck right here. We'll grab a couple of messages. And there was like really no specific message today, guys. I think this is just, my guides are, let's see what they put out there. But I'm thinking like just really guidance about how to tap into your spiritual and psychic gifts. Okay. And again, remember, everybody's different. You might smell something that's like not there. There's a name for that. It's called clear. I forget that we have a few different. There's like clairaudience where you hear. There's clairvoyance where you see. There's claircognizance where you feel. There's clairsentience. Maybe that's what that is. Clairsentience where you smell. I'm not sure if that's the one that goes with that, but there are all kinds of like different abilities. So that's what I mean. Like you might know somebody who's clairaudient where they hear it. And I like I get things that are like more like clairvoyant where like I'll see pictures or things like that. And did I say clairsentience was the smell? No, I think that's the one for feeling. Clairsentience, like you're feeling it. It's a sense. You just have a sense something is coming or a sense about something. It doesn't have to be future prediction either, guys. It could be like just a sense about something. You can be empathic where you pick up on other people's energies and just feel it radiate out from them. All right. Oh my gosh. And as I say that, we have empathy come up. But I think really what my guides want me to explain here is it's about like having the empathy. Yeah, they're saying like empathy like for yourself. Okay. It's really about like, and when I say empathy for yourself, it's really about like giving yourself the compassionate space, right? To be like, when you are trying to tap into these energies and these gifts, when you write it down, again, don't be hard on yourself. Don't judge on yourself. Um, don't be too rash or too dismissive with the feelings or the sensations that you are getting. Okay. Like really, yeah, surrender. It's like really like surrendering to whatever that message is, whatever that gift happens to bring in at that time, surrender it. Meaning, okay, this is what they want to say. It might not make sense at the time, but it might make sense 3 days later. It might make sense 6 months later because, again, remember, energy is fluid. So you might feel the energy of something now and might not witness the physical manifestation of it for a week. Okay, energy is fluid. You might meet somebody and pick up on something that like seems like sad or like low in them, and it may be something that didn't just happen to them right at that moment to make them sad. It may have been something from the past that made them sad. Whatever it is like just surrender to the fact that like whatever feeling or energetic signal that you're getting, just surrender to the fact that that is your gift trying to speak up to you and trying to make itself known. Okay, I'm gonna do, geez, one more card from here. Oh, okay, planetary cycles. I feel like the reason that this comes up is because we talked about like energy and how everything's connected. Everything has an energetic signal. All right. So when the planetary cycles are shifting, like within the last few weeks, they've done some crazy things, these planetary cycles and shifts. Remember that that will affect the energy that you operate in, and it will affect that spiritual energy or spiritual gift or psychic energy. Again, the conversation with my friend today, she had said, this message came out for somebody, and before I realized what it was, she goes, after the conversation, I was like, whoa, like that didn't come from me. That was literally like a guided message she delivered to somebody. And she's like, I'd like to know more on how to tap into this or how to channel it or harness it. And I said, of course, meditate because that focuses your mind. You are able to then be mindful of these things. And you know how to identify when that is what's happening. So now, after that, she said, after I delivered this message, it was like I felt drained. Okay. So these stones, like these tiger's eye I told you about, will help prevent that feeling drained feeling. Okay. So that was I was really excited that she actually brought that out. And she's the reason I'm actually doing this video. So Nikki, if you're there, if you watch this, hi. And thanks for asking the question. I get this question all the time, and for some reason, I never really thought to do a video on it. Now that I'm doing this video and I'm talking, I'm like, I have so much more to share. So I actually may make a repeating series of this subject matter for you guys. But again, if you do like this message, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell if you want to be notified for other further videos like this. Okay. So, all right, Spirit, last couple of messages here. Okay. And guys, like I said, if you do want to grab a deck of cards, yeah, and would really like a simple deck to work with, I actually created my own Oracle deck. It's on my Etsy shop, Goddess to Goodness on Etsy, and I made it so beginners can use it. Like when I say beginners, I mean like people who've never picked up a deck of cards. They should be able to use the deck of cards. I'll show you guys real quick in a second. And it's also amazing for really advanced readers as like a confirmation or a compliment, a complimentary message to the tarot. Okay. So right off the bat, we have the Ten of Swords, which is a feeling of being in the energy of thinking outside of the box. Like, I'm not going to do this anymore, or I have never done this and now I'm going to try. And we did. We talked about how our brain will try to keep you in that box. Okay. This is about thinking outside of the box. It's about letting all the other stuff go. You may have been told for your whole life that this stuff is just blah, 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 blah. It doesn't exist. And now it's time to like let those like old beliefs and old attachments to those opinions of others or whatever it is, let that stuff go. Time to come out and think outside the box, because we are literally born magicians. We really are. We have control of all the elements: water, air, fire, and earth, right? Our human brain is set up, and our human soul is set up for so much more than just like go to work, come home, and do things in the three-dimensional world. We literally have parts of our brains that we've never accessed. So just imagine what all that brain power and what all that energy, if we harness it correctly, we do have that power to harness it. Okay. And I love that they had me choose this deck because he's got that like those interlocking rings and that ball of fire with the wings right above his head. And I almost feel like that is like our untapped, unharnessed power of our brains. Like we have it there. We just aren't aware that we are the magicians, and we really are. And then this is like ultimate wish fulfillment, but like being extremely like happy, healthy, not worried about a thing. And tapping into this energy is really, it can help create that for us. Okay. Because we are now more aware of things, subtle energies that constantly play into our daily lives and our daily relationships, right? And it gives you a sense of feeling assured and empowerment, and you know what's going on. Like when you start using these untapped resources that we all have, okay? But it's about having the awareness of how to identify them and be like, oh, that's what that is. Okay. So awareness. This is the Pillars of Light Oracle deck. And this is my design work. Okay. And so Spirit, and what I'm going to do is just clarify or get additional messages on the 3 cards I just picked. So tell me about the Ten of Swords here, Spirit. Tell me about the Ten of Swords. And like I said, these cards I created. I chose all my own photos, either photos that I took or photos of I've had some crazy life experiences, but I wanted them all to be infused with the energy of whatever I was like feeling at the time. It may be a painting of mine. Like I just wanted to make sure that the energy was completely infused. Okay. So I love it. When I said think outside the box for the Ten of Swords, and you see this guy is like stabbed with all these swords and his soul is actually escaping into the ether. The human right here would be like the box. So now is the time to like set your soul free, and not literally, but in a way where you just start to think of things outside of the box. Not everything in this world is explainable. Energy is just that. It is energetic. We don't see it with our human eyes. Okay. We don't see it. So the confirmation or the additional message is like, have fun. Okay. Exuberance, play, and laugh, which means just go with it and enjoy like the journey of it. Okay. Don't hold too hard or too fast or too, um, you know, too tightly onto any of those preconceived notions that you may have had from the past. Spirit, what is the magician here? Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. The spirit, the magician, like I said, we are born with this innate power. Okay. And we literally have this power. We just may not necessarily realize it. The card to come up with it is self love, trust, and own it. Okay. And like I said, the 70% or whatever of our brain or 80% that we don't use or they don't know what we use it for, it is not just spam. It serves a purpose. I feel, just don't, we haven't tapped into what power we really have in our brains there. Okay. So like I said, we do have it. Just own it, trust it, and have that self-love to do that for yourself. Okay, the 9 of Cups, like I said, is that energy of being like just happy, healthy, wishes fulfilled, you got everything you need. And the card of Soften comes up, which means, yeah, like just relax. And when I say relax, it's like about taking it all in, right? You're just being receptive to whatever this is. Okay. So when you do start on this journey for yourself, like I said, awareness is the biggest thing. Get yourself like a little notebook to make notes so you can, go back to it and be like, wow, I really was right. Because you're building that trust for yourself. You're building that trust for your intuition and you're building that trust within yourself. Right. Okay. So, and then the next thing is grab a deck of cards. If you have a deck, great, use that one. If you don't, like I said, you can find my Oracle deck on my Etsy shop, Goddess to Goodness, or you can go on Amazon. You can go to one of your local shops. I recommend if you do get a deck, to buy one brand new, if you're going to, rather than use a used one, only because I believe objects and items do pick up other people's energy. Okay. But one exercise I can give you guys very quickly, and then I'm going to close out because we're up to an hour here and I only meant to do a half hour. So what you can do is, however you want to do it, you can shuffle the deck or you can just cut the deck multiple times. Take a deep breath. And this can be your meditation in the morning. You take a deep breath. And you're just going to flip a card. You're going to look at the card that morning before you go to work. And then don't think too hard about it. Just literally the first things that begin to pop into your head, the first things, whatever you notice, even if it's like sword in his hand in blood, upside down sword in his other hand, whatever it is, even if that's how you start, it's baby steps. And then what'll happen is you'll be pulled to more details in the cards. And then you can actually do like, well, the sword in his hand with the blood, this equals, like this makes me think of this. The sword in his other hand, this makes me feel like this. The two swords in the same picture like this create this sensation in me or this kind of thought process. Okay. You then might be drawn to the keys down here. Okay. He looks sad. Like, the look on his face is like not sad, but like maybe like worried or distraught. Right. So it's whatever you feel it is. Write that down in your book. That can be your morning or nighttime meditation right before you go to bed. But you pull that one card, jot it down, jot down a couple like key ideas or feelings that it brings up, and then look at it like the next day. And then literally things will start to pop up like, oh my gosh, I wonder if this was that. Like, oh, I know what that was talking about. Oh, I was just in this situation at work and this is how I felt. And you'll begin to, by the keywords that you start to write down and the meanings that come up for you, you will literally begin to tap in and harness your spiritual gifts much, much quicker and much, much easier. Okay. And like I said, it's just about like giving yourself that few minutes to be mindful with yourself. And mindful with yourself just means giving yourself the space and that few moments of time to just reflect and like shut off from the rest of the world and the rest of the noise, right? And it's like, again, creating that awareness. And the more you do that, the harder you will have to try to channel these gifts or develop these gifts or bring these gifts in. And like I said, there's so much more I could talk about with you guys and share with you, but I'm on an hour already, and I really feel like this might be a cool series to do. So like I said, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell if you want to see more videos. And thank you so much, guys, for joining me. You have a beautiful night. Bye.